Okay, so why don't we start with the two? I'm sure a few others are going to join as the previous session is completing. So, and it's the last session on the last day. So, presenting the European Connectathon, especially its online version, is the goal of this VIP tour. We are very happy to welcome you. My name is Charles Perizot. I am the chair of IHE Services, the operational unit that is supporting deployment projects all over Europe and very often outside of Europe. We are engaged in many country national projects or regional projects, and you may have heard about the fact that IHE Services is now becoming international and also changing its name to IHE Catalyst. Uh, that's a great evolution, and we'll be happy to continue through IG Catalyst to, in particular, how organize connectathons in Europe, in the US, and in many other places around the world. Speaking on the European Connectathon, this is where we stand today. Starting in 2001, and you understand why we have our 20-year anniversary this year that we are celebrating with this online Connectathon. We've been traveling and being hosted by many countries all over Europe, and I would say even extended Europe with Turkey and Switzerland, and now the UK. The very important thing is the few critical secrets behind the Connectathon. The Connectathon is just more than getting together to do some testing. I would call it testing hackathon. And many use the IHE Connectathon, the term Connectathon in various exceptions, and you will see that IHE as a very precise definition of what's a connectathon and the rigor associated with an IHE connectathon. The first critical element is in IHE we are always use case centric. We recognize that interoperability is a very broad topic, a very complex topic in healthcare, and therefore we need focus when we deal with an interoperability problem. And a use case is a good way to scope a problem that is recognized and that clinicians, health authority, provider organization want to solve. And when they solve a use case, very often they call on IHE profiles. And the IHE profile is always use case centric. Sometimes we have one profile to address a use case. Sometimes you need a combination of profile in the more complex use cases. But the profile is a specification that is developed at the international level. We'll speak a little bit more about that. Although it is always standards based, and we want to make sure we select the standard in taking a well-accepted standard, a robust standard, so that we can build a detailed specification on top of that standard or set of standards in order to address the use case. And when we move to the Connectathon, we now can turn the use case focus and the profile focus into a real-world implementation. And the Connectathon is calling on implementers of a specific profile that intend to address that use case. And you participate by saying, I will implement this IHE profile per the IHE specification. So the participants pick profile and they abide and comply with the profile. And this is why we have a very rigorous testing, because we know the profile in advance. We're not here to evaluate emerging standards. You've heard of HL7 Fire Connectathon that are very useful, but they are much earlier in the testing continuum. They are an enabler, but they don't perform this implementation product-centric a type of testing that you see in an IHE connectathon. And the last element, which complements the fact that we are implementation centric, is the rigor. There are tests to pass before going to the connectathon. We don't want to waste the effort of the participants with the implementation that would not be ready. You have a rigorous test plan that need to be followed, and there is an oversight. Monitors are checking and helping, but in the end, they are the one deciding if this test has been passed or not. So the rigor is something that I want to revisit a little bit, because there is an important element, which is the Gazelle test tool. The test plans are programmed in a test management platform, and therefore testing is something that you perform using a test tool that will track when you start the test, when you end the test, and allow you to make a record of the evidence of the fact that the test has been executed, hopefully correctly. So with predefined test plan, you need to choose test partners. We leave, in some cases, freedom. In other cases, the tool is assigning. But in all cases, you have to test against a different test party. That is the best way to prove that the product works. And we are typically matching, and that's one of the reasons why the vendors want, because they are testing at the connectathon, again, test party they will encounter in the real world, but also some that they may not encounter in their initial deployment, but they want to test with them in an early phase. So we require, in general, that at least 3 different test parties are tested against. The neutral monitors and the expert monitors oversee the testing and do the validation. I spoke about this. And the test management platform gave a good tracing, a good way to, at the end, know what testing was done and ensure that all of the aspects of a test plan have been duly executed and duly verified, validated by the neutral monitor. This is what brings the rigor in the IHE connectathon. Along this, an important element is the culture change. We believe that testing is critical, but testing is way more than a technical exercise. Testing is also a culture change. It's learning, realizing, and practicing the fact that interoperability requires collaboration, and learning competing vendors to collaborate is not always useful, given the commercial and competitive environment that they encounter in order to win their customers. But it's important to know that if you don't collaborate with your competitor, your interoperability will never be good. And the Connectathon is making that point very clear. And we've seen actually significant culture change of vendors that were reluctant to come to the Connectathon to be exposed to their competitor, from switching around to discover that it is actually excellent to collaborate with your competitors. There is also a dimension of learning. If you fail, you understand why you failed, but you will get help, either by the other vendors, by standard experts, by the monitors. People will help you fully understand what is wrong in your implementation, and in most cases, vendors are able to fix and correct their implementation on the fly, which would have taken otherwise days and weeks. So this is a matter of effectiveness, of understanding that compliance to a profile is important, and the Connectathon is a critical way to accelerate this process and to actually address the user need or the customer needs, if you take it from a vendor standpoint. So if we understand this from a process standpoint, it's also useful to remember that IHE profile are by design international in scope. And we do this because we believe that there is an important effect of scale, being able to use an IHE profile in different national environment is an economy of scale and a way to minimize deployment risk, is a way to reuse test tools. Yes, the profile have some flexibility elements so that you can adjust and play some extension for your national requirements, very often in patient ID, sometime in security and privacy. But this is critical to make the efficiency of interoperability and to accelerate the process of the deployment of interoperability in health. We are very careful when we choose our standards. We don't choose a standard because that's a standard people talk about, but we take standards that are widely used and, more importantly, that are the fit. They fit the use case. Picking a standard because somebody likes it is actually not a good criteria. So meeting the variety of use cases, combining different standards, and realizing that in most use case, you need more than one kind of a standard, and those need to be specified on how to be combined. We have recognition by the European Commission, 27 profile were recognized now 6 years ago, and are widely used and are continued to be maintained by IHE. Therefore, today we have hundreds of millions of patients, several hundreds of millions across several continents that whose record and health information is being exchanged using IHE profiles. So yes, we are happy to use standard, the best standard, but the most robust standards is what is important. The fitting for the use case is always a challenge, but what's important is the profiling, and we know and have learned that the profiling is critical with all standards, including HL7 Fire, and we are sometimes surprised by the fact that people are repeating with HL7 Fire, the last generation of standards from HL7, the same mistake they did 20 years ago with HL7 version 2. They customize, they profile Fire themselves, project by project, country by country. And the result is that we have now incompatible Fire implementation in different countries for the same use case. We know that this is going to be corrected. It has to be, lessons have to be relearned, and IHE is here to help, and we want to continue to promote all standards, including Fire, in the most effective way. So you've heard that the Connectathon is online this entire week. This is not the first time. This is the second time in Europe. The first online Connectathon was held in November last year in Europe. There was an online Connectathon in the USA in March, and we now have this third online Connectathon. In shaping and reshaping the Connectathon to operate online, we knew and we had to face a number of challenges. The first one is to keep this highly rich interaction that we had in the face-to-face exchanges. So we are trying to transpose this in an online process. It is not always easy. It requires more discipline, a little bit more effort. It's less natural than on a face-to-face, but I think we've done a fair level of trust and collaboration. We'll check with one of the vendor in a couple minutes. An online Connectathon, excuse me, is bringing new challenges. Having dispersed system on dispersed network and going through various gateways and interfaces in different test labs where the systems are located is creating a significant connectivity challenge and sometimes performance challenge. But we have created new processes and new preparation steps in order to overcome this challenge. You have to remember that it's not only the testing entity that interact, but they have to interact with the monitors, and the monitors support multiple testing participants under the oversight of the testing management team that is located in the online operations center. So that's a lot of different people in different roles that are interacting. And for this, we have personalized the Gazelle tool. Gazelle was a significant help in managing the test management, but we've added more tools and video conferencing and chat tools that have enlarged those capabilities. So in summary, we had over 100 participants in the manning their system and the test for those 30 registered systems that came from 100 European countries, and they tested 45 different profile this week that is now ending. The monitors, we had 31 of them from 7 European countries, but also from other parts from the world. Several from the USA, one from Turkey, and a couple from Gabon, which has a very active national project, which is in the early deployment phase, but which is proceeding very well. Some of you may have attended, and if not, please, we'll provide the recording where Gabon is showing their national interoperability framework, which is based on IHE profile, and the projectathon and their implementation plans. The monitors, I spoke about them. They are core to the success of a connectathon. They come from all over Europe. They are not vendors. They are neutral. They come from care providers, from hospitals, from national programs. They are expert across various areas and have experience deploying and implementing IHE profile. It is an occasion for them to learn more about the implementations of the profile and to share their expertise in validating the test results. And working as a team is critical, and you see on top the management team, Anne-Gaëlle and Alain, who help all of those monitors to operate swiftly and precisely during the Connectathon. So I'm now finished with this introduction. I would like to end the discussion in a minute so that we discuss a little bit more Gazelle, what it does, and hear a vendor experience before telling you how to use the result of the Connectathon and listen and answer your question. The Gazelle platform, as we said, is a set of test management tools as well as specific test tools, validators, and simulators, among other things. The Gazelle platform is indeed supporting IHE Connectathon for EF projects that are using IHE profile. They care about those results. And the vendors also, it's used for IHE Connectathon, but you see that it is used for many other things, like the conformity assessment program that IHE is running at the international level that provides an ISO 17025 test report so that this certificate can actually be valid in procurement worldwide. And we today have 16 profiles that are under conformity assessment labeling. So if you want to know more about those, please type in your search engine IHE conformity assessment, and you will find this information. Projectathon, the projects have their own testing session, and many of them use Gazelle to support this, not only in Europe, but in the USA and in a number of other countries, Middle East and Africa. So the deployment is a support that Gazelle provides. It serves also the vendors in-house where they use Gazelle test platform. Several vendors are users, customers of the Gazelle platform for their product development. So you understand that this test platform is a little bit like a Swiss knife that has baked in a lot of standard support, profile support, and that can be customized to support the interoperability specification of specific projects, thus delivering quality and capability to test for the implementers. Steve, the ball is yours. Steve Moore, now speaking, who is one of the Connectathon manager for the IHE USA Connectathon and has been running Connectathon for more than 20 years.
Thank you, Charles. And as I walk through these next few slides, I will be doing this in the context of the International Patient Summary profile, and Charles will speak to that a little bit after I finish, but that is the context that I'm going to use. So in my role as a technical project manager, I read the IHE profile that's under consideration, in this case IPS. I extract the requirements from that profile, and then I define a test strategy and cases, and I enter that into a web application called the Gazelle Master Model. It's a database that models IHE profiles, actors, and transactions, and it also models and has the data for our test cases. Once that data is entered into Gazelle Master Model, a Connectathon participant can log into the Gazelle test management system, find a work list of tests they need to run based on their registration. They then work through each of those test cases for all their registered profiles, and IPS is one example. They complete each test and they mark it complete. A Connectathon monitor is a volunteer, also has a work list in Gazelle Test Management. They will pick off an entry that is designated for them. They will review the test evidence provided by the participants, or they may review that by looking at screen captures, or they might review in person if we were actually in person. And then they enter an assessment of each individual test case. And this workflow, the two large bullets for participant and monitor, is what repeats on an hourly basis during a Connectathon week. At the end of each day and at the end of the week, the project managers, and there are just a small number of those, one for each domain, we go through Gazelle Test Management and we provide grades for each profile actor combination based on the assessments the monitors make. So the monitors grade individual tests and the project managers perform grades or assessment for overall profile actor pairs. Charles, can I have the next slide, please? Charles, can I have the next slide, please?
Charles, I think, is on the phone. Yeah. Next slide, please, Charles.
Thank you. So this is a test dashboard that is in Gazelle Test Management that would be seen by a participant. In this case, I filtered down just to see a small part of it. The part on the left is the list of the tests the participant needs to run. The part on the right gives the number of tests they need to run with some other metadata, such as the tests that are in progress or the tests that have been completed. And so this gives them the detailed view of what they need to complete on a test basis. Next slide, please.
Charles, next slide.
This is a higher level dashboard that is also shown in Gazelle. Oh, one too far. Can you go back one? Thank you. This is a higher level dashboard that is shown in Gazelle Test Management to a participant that shows their overall progress for the actor profile pairs for their registration. And so the individual lines will turn green when they finish their work, and when I finish my grading, they turn green to show that they have passed. So I want to draw your attention to the fourth row, which says content creator and IPS creator fire. The IPS supplement or profile written for IHE has two main options, which are the fire option and the CDA option. IHE profile both options, the CDA document and the fire document version, recognizing that institutions have a large investment in CDA today, and they need to leverage that investment, not just throw it away. And so in the profile that is written by IHE, creators can create either kind of document, CDA or FHIR, and consumers can consume either type of document. And so I just wanted to point out that HL7 has defined both these kinds of documents. IHE has profiled them as a way to make sure that we harness the existing CDA environment, and we'll be able to make use of the FHIR environment as people change and adapt to that. Next slide, please. Charles, there we go, thank you. So this is a slide that shows a high-level view of the International Patient Summary composition. And on the left, you see the sections that are part of the composition, and the 3 sections in red are the ones that are required. And so these 3 sections, medication summary, allergies and intolerances, problem list, are required in the composition. And I have used test data from the Trillium Bridge project to define the test cases and requirements for testing for this profile for this Connectathon. The other sections are not included in the testing. They will be included in future versions. They are optional for testing. I point out the immunization section because that is certainly important in today's COVID era. And also want to point out that 2 of our participants took it upon themselves to add immunizations to their data and test that themselves. And so the wonderful thing about a Connectathon is it gives participants a chance to do things over and above what's required for their grading, because they have the attention of their peers, and it's a wonderful opportunity for them to do that work. And so I applaud them for that extra work that they did, and look forward to including immunizations and other things in future tests. With that, I'm going to turn it back to Charles.
Thank you very much, Steve. That indeed give us a nice example of understanding what the test management does for a specific profile. Remember, there are 45 such profiles that have been tested. Some are more transactional, some are more content-oriented, some are more workflow-oriented. But come back for a minute on the International Patient Summary. You see the same slide that Steve showed you. The International Patient Summary has been profiled by IHE. It was initially developed by SEN and HL7 for unplanned care, and we've extended the use case for planned care, filling in some of the workflow gaps that were needed in order to use the IPS profile for both planned and unplanned care. We kept the dual technology in terms of standards, the CDA on one side because it is widely used, widely deployed worldwide, but also the FHIR document structure as a number of projects are in the early deployment stages of FHIR, and we wanted to be able to support them equally. So this testing is the first time that it is done at an IHE Connectathon, and we are very happy to have 4 vendors participated to that testing. And I would like to hand over the microphone to Umberto Capellini from the company Dedalus, who has been one of the 4 vendors performing testing this week at the Connectathon. Umberto, how did your testing go?
Very well, thank you, Charles. Can you hear me well, right?
Very well.
Great. So yeah, thanks a lot for giving me this opportunity for showing up what we're doing here with the IPS profile. I will share my screen now. So yeah. I think you see my screen now, right? So yeah, we are participating to this profile. First of all, a little bit of presentation. My name is Umberto Capellini. I'm a technical product owner for Daedalus. Daedalus is an Italian company based in Florence, and we have multiple teams in multiple countries participating in this connectathon with different systems. We have teams in Italy, in Austria, in Germany, and France, particularly. So this team where I belong is come to the connectathon with this profile, IPS profile, as a content consumer. What does it mean? It means that somebody is creating content for us and we are ready to display it. And we have support, as Steve was saying before, there are two ways of delivering this data for a patient summary in this profile, and these two ways are CDA, so a classical HL7 CDA document, and file composition document, so the resource composition documents. I can show both of them now. So I will query. We have this product in Daedalus called Patient Synoptic. Is a product to have an overview, a clinical overview of a particular patient, and we introduced this new feature right for the connectathon, supporting IPS. So I query our system. We imported the two test patients for the connectathon, which are Mary and Charles. In honor of Charles, I will select Charles Merlot. And here we go into a page, a dashboard page containing this new widget that we added to our product, which is a composition widget, especially developed to support this kind of documents. So the patient summary document. Here we will have a list of documents related to this patient, fire document in this case, and clicking on view, you have a you have a display, structured, formatted display of the patient summary with all the various sections, allergies, active province, patient information, and as Steve was saying, we managed to introduce immunization section as well with support for the SARS-CoV antigen vaccine for testing, which is quite interesting because it's up to date. It can be a very good tool to have a overview display of the clinical information of a patient, including immunization, of course. So let's switch to the other way we carry this information, which is a CDI document. We have a section here in our product specific for documents. So if I go to this section, I see there's one document. We received one document about one CDI document about this patient, and this document is stored into a XDS repository, and queried through a XDS registry. The usual XDS way of sharing documents. So clicking on open, we retrieve the document and we apply a style sheet. As you see, the style is a little bit different as before. We can apply different kind of style sheet, obviously for CDA documents. The content is the same as before. The rendering, the view is different according to the style sheet that we selected in this case. So these are the same, let's say, the same section that we have seen before. These two tests were made with the other vendors of the connectathon that are supporting IPS, which are Gnomon and the EZ Care. If I remember well the name, I'm always bad with names. Yeah, Steve and Charles, you know better the names of the partners than me. So this is end up this small demo on how we render, how we consume IPS documents as a content consumer. And I will pass back now the ball to Charles.
Thank you very much, Umberto, and compliments for the hard work you performed during this week and testing both the IPS and the CDA version. Were you both a creator and a consumer of?
No, we were only consumer at this time.
You were only consumers. Okay. So what you were showing are international patient summary you received and displayed on your system. Thank
Right.
you very, very much. So we will finish rapidly. We have a couple more slides to cover. To quickly let you know that Connectathon results are public. So in a couple weeks, you will have the result of this Connectathon, but you can view the results of all Connectathon for the 400 vendors that ever participated with different systems at the Connectathon, and so that you know precisely for a given profile which vendor supported which actor and successfully tested. Likewise, we have on the IHE-Europe website a whole process flow for you to use IHE profile within a project, starting with policy consideration, moving to defining your use case and your requirements, your specification based on IHE profile and other standards, defining your testing strategy, performing your procurement, calling on IHE profile in your procurement and giving you the language and the references for this, as well as your deployment and the governance and interoperability, which is critical for projects as you need to keep those operational. So feel free on the IHE-Europe to use this very nice resource. Question and answers from a few of you. I know that you are ready to go to the IHE-Europe social event.
Charles, just for your information, they are waiting for you. They have not started the social event, so.
So we need to be quick. Stefan, any questions? Nothing new?
Not quite sure how is it now running over the year since this online process is available, let's say on every day in a year. How is it different between the Connectathon time and the rest of the year? Are you also offering testing in the rest of the year?
It's online, but it remains an event.
Okay.
We're not making it permanent. We are creating with IHE Share Zone 24/7 testing, especially for content. But to test interaction, you need many products from many vendors, and mobilizing those at any time is a nice thing to dream of, but it's not very practical. So we offer several online Connectathon throughout the year, some hosted by IHE-Europe, some hosted by IHE USA, and we cover that way more flexibility for the participants.
Okay, thanks. And if you're now going out to a social event, are you now on the Kereval side, or where are you? Are you physically at the same place, everyone? Or?
No, I'm remote right now.
Okay.
But we have an online social event.
Okay. So, enjoy.
Okay, good. Thank you very, very much for your participation and your attention.
Bye-bye.